You're all welcome to today's news analysis. This one is serious. This one is political. And this one could change 2027. Before we go deep, if you love clear Nigerian political analysis without noise, subscribe now, turn on post notifications, so you don't miss what comes next. Now listen carefully. Nasir El-Rufai has made a bold statement. He says Atiku Abubakar must step aside. And if the African Democratic Congress, ADC, is serious about fighting Bola Tinubu, then Peter Obi must be their candidate. This is not small talk. This is power talk. Let's break it down, calmly, clearly, and without bias. This did not come from just anybody. It came from Nasir El-Rufai, a former governor, a power player, a man who understands how Nigerian politics really works, not the social media version, but the real one that happens quietly, strategically, and far away from public emotions. When someone like El-Rufai speaks, it is never random. It is never careless. And it is never without calculation. So when he openly said that Atiku Abubakar must step aside, and that the African Democratic Congress, ADC, should present Peter Obi as their candidate if they truly want to battle Bola Ahmed Tinubu in 2027, it sent a signal across the political space. This was not advice. This was a message. And Nigerians need to understand why this statement matters. El-Rufai is not an opposition beginner. He has seen elections won before voting even starts. He understands alliances, structures, regional emotions, and elite agreements. So this was not about who he likes. It was about who can realistically stand a chance. Let us slow down and look at the names involved. Atiku Abubakar is from the north. A veteran of Nigerian politics. Someone who has contested multiple times and still commands respect in certain circles. Peter Obi is from the south. A figure with strong public appeal, especially among young voters and urban Nigerians. Bola Tinubu is also from the south. The current president. Backed by a powerful party structure and deep political networks. Now add El-Rufai himself into the equation. He is also from the north. This is important. Because when a northern political heavyweight suggests that another northern heavyweight should step aside, it changes the meaning of the message. This is not regional jealousy. This is not internal rivalry. This is political realism. El-Rufai understands something many politicians avoid saying openly. Nigeria's elections are not decided by passion alone. They are decided by balance, timing, and national mood. And right now, the mood of the country is very sensitive. After years of northern leadership, power moved to the south. Many Nigerians, whether they like Tinubu or not, still believe that the South deserves to complete its turn. That belief is not written in the constitution, but it is written in the political mind of the country. El-Rufai knows this. So when he says Atiku must step down, he is not dismissing Atiku's experience. He is acknowledging the reality that a northern candidate in 2027 will face strong resistance, not just from voters, but from the political structure itself. This is where ADC comes in. ADC is not APC. ADC does not have federal power. ADC does not control state machinery across the country. So for ADC to even dream of defeating Tinubu, it must play a smarter game. Not a louder game. Not an emotional game. A smarter one. El-Rufai's statement suggests that ADC cannot afford to gamble. It must choose a candidate that fits the national equation, not just party ambition. Peter Obi, in this context, becomes a strategic option. Not because he is perfect. Not because he is the only popular figure. But because his candidacy aligns with the current zoning expectation and public psychology. This is why El-Rufai's words are powerful. They expose a hard truth many politicians refuse to say publicly. That personal ambition must sometimes bow to political reality. By calling for Atiku to step aside, El-Rufai is also challenging the culture of endless candidacy. The idea that experience alone guarantees victory. In modern Nigerian politics, experience without timing can become a weakness. This statement, therefore, is not just about ADC's future. It is about how Nigerian power is negotiated. It is about whether opposition parties are ready to make sacrifices for victory, or whether they will repeat old mistakes driven by ego and internal competition. And that is why this chapter matters. Because once a senior insider speaks this openly, it means the conversation has already been happening quietly for a long time. The question now is not whether El-Rufai is right. The question is whether ADC is bold enough to listen. And that takes us to the deeper issue: zoning, power balance, and the real 2027 reality. Let us now talk about the issue many Nigerians understand but rarely discuss openly. Zoning. This is not written in the constitution, but it is written in the political culture of the country. It is an understanding that power should rotate between the north and the south to maintain balance, reduce tension, and give every region a sense of belonging. Whether people agree with it or not, zoning has shaped almost every major political decision in Nigeria for decades. Right now, Nigeria is in a southern cycle. Bola Ahmed Tinubu, a southerner, is the sitting president. By this unwritten agreement, the south is expected to hold power for 8 years. That expectation does not disappear simply because there is hardship or anger in the country. Even in times of frustration, many political actors still think in terms of balance before emotion. This is where the 2027 reality becomes clear. If Tinubu seeks re-election and wins, power remains in the south. If Tinubu loses, the expectation is still that another southerner replaces him. This is the logic shaping elite conversations across party lines. It is quiet, but it is firm. For any party planning ahead, ignoring this reality would be risky. Elections are not won only by popularity. They are won by alignment with national expectations, elite consensus, and regional comfort. That is why zoning continues to matter, even when many citizens say they are tired of it. Now consider the African Democratic Congress. ADC is trying to position itself as a serious alternative. But being an alternative requires more than strong speeches. It requires strategic calculation. A party without federal control must be twice as careful with its choices. Every mistake becomes costly. Presenting a northern candidate in 2027 would place ADC in a difficult position from the start. It would immediately clash with the zoning expectation. It would raise questions among power brokers who may otherwise remain neutral. It would also weaken ADC's ability to build alliances across the south, where voter turnout and political emotion will play a major role. This is not about excluding the north. It is about timing. Political power in Nigeria moves in cycles, and 2027 sits clearly within a southern cycle. Any party that ignores this is choosing struggle over strategy. That is why the idea of Atiku Abubakar leading ADC into 2027 raises serious concerns in political circles. Atiku is experienced, but experience does not change geography. No matter how well known he is, his regional identity would still shape perception. For many voters, rightly or wrongly, his candidacy would feel like a disruption of balance. Elites understand this risk very well. They also understand that once a campaign starts with resistance from powerful regions, it becomes difficult to recover. Support becomes conditional. Resources become limited. Silence replaces commitment. On the other hand, presenting a southern candidate allows a party like ADC to enter the conversation with less resistance. It opens doors instead of closing them. It gives the party room to negotiate, persuade, and attract unlikely allies. This is where Peter Obi fits into the equation from a strategic point of view. His southern identity aligns with the zoning expectation. It reduces regional tension before the campaign even begins. It also makes it easier for the party to speak to southern voters without sounding contradictory. Beyond geography, there is also public psychology. Many Nigerians are angry. Many are frustrated. But anger alone does not automatically translate into a vote against zoning. People can be unhappy with a government and still want balance to remain. That is the complexity of Nigerian politics. ADC must therefore choose between emotional appeal and structural wisdom. Emotional appeal may create noise, but structure creates stability. And stability is what attracts serious political investment. Another important factor is perception. If ADC fields a northern candidate against Tinubu, the narrative may shift away from issues and towards regional comparison. That benefits the incumbent. But if ADC fields a southern candidate, the debate becomes more competitive and more policy-focused. Zoning also affects internal party unity. When a party goes against the national expectation, internal disagreements increase. Members begin to ask hard questions. Loyalty becomes fragile. In a party that is still building itself, that kind of tension can be damaging. This is why zoning is not just a moral discussion. It is a practical one. It affects funding, messaging, alliances, and voter comfort. Ignoring it does not make it disappear. It only makes the campaign harder. In 2027, Nigerians will vote with many emotions, but political leaders will plan with calculation. ADC's success or failure will depend on whether it understands this difference. The party must decide if it wants to make history or repeat familiar mistakes. The reality is simple. Power is currently in the south. The expectation is that it remains there for now. Any party that wants to win must respect that reality before trying to change the system. Now the focus shifts to the hardest part of this entire discussion. Execution. Talking is easy in Nigerian politics. Statements are made every day. Opinions are shared freely. But very few groups are able to turn bold ideas into real political action. That is where most opposition efforts fail, not because the ideas are weak, but because the structure is not strong enough to carry them. For the African Democratic Congress, this is the real test. It is one thing to agree on zoning logic. It is another thing to build a campaign capable of challenging an incumbent president with deep institutional support. Power in Nigeria does not move simply because people are unhappy. It moves when dissatisfaction is organized. ADC does not currently control federal power. It does not command state machinery across the country. It does not have governors, ministers, or agencies working in its favor. This means every step it takes must be deliberate. There is no room for emotional decisions or internal confusion. If ADC truly wants to present a southern candidate like Peter Obi, the party must be ready to answer serious questions. How will the campaign be funded? How will the message be coordinated nationwide? How will the party protect votes in areas where it has little presence? These are not small concerns. They are the difference between relevance and embarrassment. Another challenge is unity. Nigerian political parties often collapse from within before the election even arrives. Personal ambition, ego, and distrust destroy momentum. If Atiku Abubakar is asked to step aside, it must be handled with maturity and respect. A forced exit creates resentment. A negotiated withdrawal creates cooperation. ADC cannot afford division at this stage. There is also the issue of elite support. No major campaign succeeds without backing from influential political figures. These figures rarely move openly at first. They watch. They wait. They test seriousness. ADC must show discipline, clarity, and consistency before it can attract that level of support. One confused signal can cost months of quiet negotiations. Public trust is another hurdle. Nigerians are tired of promises. Many voters no longer believe in new platforms or fresh language. ADC must convince people that it is not just another temporary shelter for politicians seeking relevance. That trust can only be built through consistent messaging and visible organization over time. Peter Obi's popularity, if he becomes the candidate, would help, but popularity alone cannot carry a national election. Without structure, popularity fades under pressure. Without coordination, enthusiasm turns into frustration. ADC must therefore focus less on excitement and more on preparation. The ruling party will not wait. Tinubu's political network is experienced. It understands timing. It understands pressure points. Any weakness from the opposition will be identified early and exploited. ADC must expect resistance not just during the campaign, but long before it begins. Another issue is narrative control. Elections are not just about votes. They are about stories. Who looks prepared? Who looks stable? Who looks presidential? ADC must define its identity clearly. It cannot sound confused or reactive. Every public message must point in the same direction. The role of figures like El-Rufai becomes important here. Statements like his create momentum, but momentum must be managed carefully. If not handled well, it can raise expectations faster than the party can deliver. ADC must convert public conversation into private planning. There is also the youth factor. Many young Nigerians feel disconnected from traditional politics. They are angry but cautious. ADC must avoid assuming automatic support. Engagement must be deliberate, respectful, and realistic. Youth energy is powerful, but it needs leadership to stay focused. Time is another silent enemy. 2027 may feel distant, but political preparation happens slowly. Building structures, resolving internal disagreements, and gaining trust all take time. Delay is costly. Indecision weakens confidence. ADC must move with urgency but not panic. In the end, this is not just about one candidate or one party. It is about whether Nigeria's opposition can finally act like a government in waiting. The country does not need noise. It needs competence, clarity, and courage. ADC now stands at a crossroads. It can choose comfort and familiarity, or it can choose risk and discipline. History shows that real change never comes from half decisions. The path ahead is narrow, demanding, and unforgiving. But it is also possible. If ADC gets this right, it could reshape the political landscape. If it gets it wrong, it will become another lesson in missed opportunity. The decision will not be announced loudly. It will be felt quietly. And when it is made, Nigeria will know which direction the wind is blowing.